Today we wanted to chat about the top 10 things you should know before moving to Tulum. Hi, I'm Amy with the Cross-Border Program and Angle Invokers Tulum, and I'm here with Ian Russel, who is the Creative Director, Sales Director, man of many hats in Aflora. So if you can take it away, we appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. This is a very important point to check in if you're thinking about moving here, living here, and especially investing here. Right off the bat, upon your visit, you'll notice that everyone's trying to get you into a pre-sale unit. Everybody wants to sell you something here, but there's a few things you want to have in mind before you put your money down and start signing contracts. So first and foremost, one thing that's really important, and we always like to explain to our clients and our residents here, is the legal costs that you're going to have buying here in Mexico. Now, these costs compared to other places in the world might be less, but they're still substantial. And in terms of your capital flow and your capital investment, you want to take them into account for both the purchase and also, if you're looking at this as an investment, the rentability and the future resale of your property. So with those legal costs, we're talking about closing costs, we're talking about having a bank trust, also all of the guidance in the process of due diligence. It's really important here as a foreigner that you really understand your rights, obligations, both you and the seller in these cases, to see if this is a fair deal for you, and also if this is a legal deal, which is both sanctioned by the state and federal government.
And number 2, we have bank trusts.
So they call them here fideicomisos. So the bank trust is a very important element to understand here when you're buying as a foreigner. Anywhere 100 kilometers to the coast of Mexico, as a non-national, you're obligated to either open a Mexican corporation or create a bank trust. The corporate route is if you're going to have several, 3 or more properties, and you're going to do other economic activity here in the country. But for most folks, myself included, who are buying for personal use, typically what you're going to do is open up a bank trust through a Mexican national bank. That has its own costs, but it also has its own protections. So it's really good to understand what that's going to cost you both to start it up and annually, and also what benefits that brings you as a foreign owner.
And how much, Ian, did you say it costs for setting up a fideicomiso?
This year, the average would be about $2,000 per property. You need to have a fideicomiso for each property or asset that you own within that coastal zone. And from the second year onwards, it's a renewal fee of around $500 to $600 every year for a span of 30 years, in which then you have the right to renew.
Amazing. So number 3 is consumer protection.
This is a really important point, and it's sort of like an untold secret here in the industry, because a lot of folks don't really understand how much protections, both legal and fiscal protections, they have once they're buying in Mexico. So you as a new owner, if you're buying a property in pre-construction or new construction, the Consumer Protection Agency here in Mexico, which is called Profeco, guarantees you several federal regulations which your developers are obligated to comply on. So the first of those is called vicios ocultos, which is hidden defects. This is a problem that is in construction all around the world. It's just sort of a nature of new construction that certain things are going to happen after you get your unit. So if the second day that you have your unit you discover a leak or some of the electrical is not working, not everyone will tell you right away that you actually have a legal right to have the developer intervene at that point and fix all of those issues for you. So here in Mexico, and especially here in Tulum, what we have is 1 year of vicios ocultos, which is hidden defects, 3 years protection against impermeabilización, which is any sort of waterproofing or leaking, and 5-year protection on all structures. So this is something that guarantees that your purchase is going to work for you long term, and also holds the developers and constructors accountable for the work that they're turning in.
Perfect. So number 4 is build quality.
That's another really important one, and again it goes back to the process of doing due diligence before you purchase. You want to know who your developer is, you want to know who your builder is. There's a lot of new shops in town, and every year I see more and more. A lot of folks come here with a lot of ambition, and not all of them bring the correct experience. So although Tulum is famous for its architecture and design and beautiful finishes, you really want to know what's behind that finish so that you're sure that your investment and the hard-earned money that you're putting is going to last you and your investment needs a long time. When I talk about build quality, we're talking about finishes, but we're also talking about in how they prepare the land itself. If you don't do the correct preparations here, because we're sitting above one of the largest aquifers, what you're going to get is not just filtrations and leaks from above, but you're actually going to get something called capillary absorption, which happens when the aquifers themselves seep up into your foundations. So we take special care here in this zone in the Yucatan Peninsula to do a correct cementation and correct foundations in all of our constructions, because those problems aren't going to arise within the first 2-3 years of construction. They're going to happen 5 to 10 years down the road.
So next up, number 5 is residency.
Residency, that's another great point. And again, it's something that seems intimidating at first, but there's actually a lot of really clearly defined paths to residency that you can get here as an investor or as a vacationer. First of all, Mexico is a really open country in terms of tourist visas. So unfortunately, the mistake that a lot of people make is because you can get a 180-day visa here and all you have to do is take a trip to Belize or a flight to Canada and come back to renew. Most folks don't realize how easy it is to take this very important path to getting your residency established. We have both temporary and permanent residency options available here in Mexico. Our offices, the offices for immigration are actually only 40 minutes away in Playa del Carmen, and there's lots of legal firms that can give you full help to administer that process. If Spanish is not your first language or if you find the process intimidating, the cost to set up residency here, it's both quick, relatively cheap, and you don't really have to show up very much except for on your last appointment to sign some things and to put your fingerprints down. So I always recommend to all of our buyers, as soon as you start to buy, to start that residency process. It's going to help you for tax reasons to get your RFC and CURP established, but it also allows you access and discounts to a lot of the gems here in the region, from the national parks to the ruins to the cenotes. Having a residency here is a huge benefit, and it gives you preferential treatment and preferential pricing in a lot of places.
And one more question, Ian, for those of you watching that might not know what a CURP is. Can you explain what that is just quickly?
Sure. So in the US, we have social security numbers and we also have like tax ID numbers. Here in Mexico, your CURP is what you're given at birth, which is essentially your code that you hold with the government. Once you start doing fiscal activities, you get an RFC. So your RFC is essentially your social security number, or the equivalent here in Mexico. And if you're going to be engaging in economic activities here with profit, whether it's buying and selling property or it's putting your property up in the rental market, it's really important that you get your RFC. Not just so that you're reporting and paying taxes, but also that you can deduce your expenses so that when it comes time to pay taxes, you get all the benefits of a Mexican citizen.
Awesome, thank you. So number 6 is timing.
With everything in life, timing is key, especially here in terms of investments. There's a lot of zones in Tulum which are just about to break ground, and there's places here, neighborhoods like the one we're sitting in, that have around 10 years of both experience and rental history. So in terms of the timing, it really depends on what you're looking for. If you want pre-construction, if you're looking for something down the road and your capital plan is in monthly payments or an extended finance plan, or if you want something that you and your family can enjoy right away, those are factors that are really important in considering and communicating to your real estate broker or whoever's guiding that process so they can guide you in the right path. You know, I had the good fortune of being in Tulum 7 years ago, and you wouldn't recognize it from today. So I always use my own anecdotes of experience here to tell people you really have to look to the future here in Tulum when you're investing in terms of infrastructure and neighborhoods, and understand what that plan is so that you can be in the right location at the right time and get that dream location for you, because as you know, Tulum is changing quickly.
Yes. Every day there seems to be something new on the same drive that I do every day. So this brings us to number 7, market research.
As you'll quickly find here in Tulum, we have no MLS. We have no consolidated database where you're going to see all the properties and all the prices with all the data and history in one place. So what that entails for you or your broker is to really get out there and see the options. And this is something we recommend that folks do both with a real estate agent but also on their own accord. You're going to see products here ranging from 2 million pesos to $2 million. And on paper, they can look pretty similar. So what you have to take into account here is the region and the location that you're buying in. What does that property come with in terms of furnishings and amenities? And also you have to think about, in terms of market research, what have been the rental rates for the type of product that you're buying? You know, the big popular boom in the last few years has been studios, but there's a lot of big opportunities in villas and 3-bedroom units that are adaptable for long-term living. Like in any investment, it's really important that you read through the rumors, that you read through the news, and you're able to develop your own plan and targets based on what your needs are.
Number 8, local knowledge.
That's something that is really hard to get unless you're here or you have a very trustworthy contact that either lives or operates a significant amount of time here in Tulum. Again, going back to kind of our lack of consolidated information, as we are still a very new market and a very new region of the world in terms of foreign investment, there's a lot of things that you're not going to find online. If you look for the best restaurant, it's not going to be on Yelp. So having that local knowledge here is really important, from understanding where the best place is to go on a Monday night to get a cocktail and dance with your friends, to where is going to be the region that gets infrastructure next from the city government. A lot of that is going to rely on personal connections and also just coming down here, getting to know people and understanding this place on a first-hand experience. I always recommend, even if a buyer is going to do sight unseen, that they at least come down here for a weekend so that they can really feel what a cenote feels like, what Tulum Centro feels like, what the beach zone is, so they can really understand how far away they are from those amenities that they want to have, and also what the logistics are in terms of living here in this area.
Number 9, cost of living.
Cost of living is one that surprises a lot of people, for both good and bad. Me coming from New York City, where everything is expensive, my first few years here I was living without really checking prices, because almost everything at the grocery store was a fraction of what I'm used to paying. But if you are a Mexican national, or you're coming from an area which is maybe less demanded, you'll notice that some things are as expensive, if not more expensive, than New York and Los Angeles. I'm talking about taxis, I'm talking about an oat milk latte, I'm even talking about a night out in the hotel zone. You might be surprised to see that a cocktail here can run you up to $20 or $30 if you're going to these high-end places. Now, it's probably going to be worth it, it'll probably be delicious, but Tulum is no longer a budget backpacker destination. The days of people camping on the beach, of staying in a hostel for $10 a night are long gone, and now we're entering in an area of luxury travel.
Number 10, the last one, is tax strategy.
Thank you for bringing up this point. Although it's number 10, for some folks that should be number 1 on your list. Tulum has often been sold as a destination for ROI, return on investment. And when I say that, a lot of people are thinking Airbnb, rental rates, maybe you have a property admin, you get a payment every month. And that's great, and that still is a viable business plan. However, if you're a business owner in the United States, in Canada, worldwide, if you have a lot of business expenses, you can also use your assets here in Mexico as a tax vehicle. So in the same way that folks will buy a yacht or a private plane, and they use these as write-offs, and there's a lot of tax advantages there, you're able to do the same thing here, but with much less upkeep costs. As much as we'd all love to have a personal jet or a personal yacht, as you know, the maintenance and the repair cost of that is astronomical, and it's not as easy to rent that asset out. So what you have here is the advantage of a tax asset that can offset your liabilities both here in Mexico and abroad. And if you have a good tax strategist, your return on your tax savings will be so much greater than your rental return.
Amazing. So there you have it. That was so amazing, Ian. You are just a wealth of knowledge. So if you guys have any comments, questions, we'd love to hear it in the comments section. Like this video, share it, and we'll see you next time at the Cross Border Program.
See you in Tulum.